Welcome to a One Take Podcast, episode 177. This week on the show, we are reviewing Two Inside, Two Out, or Inside Outs, as Dex called it earlier.
Inside Out. I love it when they just make the sequel plural. That rules. Shout out to Twisters.
They should have done that. Inside Out, starring Glenn Powell. This is the first Disney Pixar movie that we've reviewed in some time because the last two that came out, nobody cared about. Yeah, I mean, they somehow hacked the system by, just leaving.
Leave your movie there.
Leaving the movie in theater. Yeah,
leave. Go see it.
They just left Elemental in theaters way after its like death date, and people were like, you know what? Why not?
Perfectly.
Elemental was in theaters for like 9 months, and people were like, "Fine, fine, I will go see it," including me. And it's it's cute. It's fine.
I want to say Elemental was still in theaters when I watched it on Disney Plus, which is like kind of the ideal scenario for these movies. The platonic scenario for some of these movies is just like, I don't know, leave Furiosa still in theaters so people can actually go see it before you put it on HBO Max. That'd be great.
Just let it hang around, dude. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, and especially when nothing's coming out. Like, we have like a historically low number of movies coming out because of the strikes. Yet they're just like 2 weeks in theaters is all you get, bitches. Like, that's it.
Yeah, I live near like an AMC 20, and there's always just some random bullshit playing. Our theater does a good job of like showing like random Indian movies or random Korean movies or whatever, like longer than anyone else would bother showing them. But it's like, at some point, man, take If off these screens and throw Furiosa on there and let us cook. All right.
The Cinemark in Waco plays all of the Angel Productions movies,
the God Not Dead movies.
Pretty much, yeah. Those do gangbusters in the theaters in the Cinemark in Waco, Texas. Anyway, how we all doing? Full theaters though for Inside Out 2.
Theaters are fucking back. Even Garfield's at 200 million now. I mean, people are in the movie theaters the last couple of weeks. They're just not seeing Furiosa, but they're seeing other things.
Yeah, including Bad Boys 18. Which one was it that we talked about? 4. Okay. So this week we're talking about Inside Out 2. 2024 movie came out 2 weeks ago. This is the only podcast on the internet that you can hear us review movies after they dominate the box office for a week and a half. So really, thank you for hanging in there with us. Has an 8.0 on IMDb. Follows Riley in her teenage years, encountering new emotions. Short, sweet, to the point. Directed by Kelsey Mann. The past one was directed by the guy that now runs Pete Docter, who he just now straight up runs.
Not a real fucking name.
Swear to God. He just now runs Pixar. So
wow.
I think he now runs Pixar, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Pete Docter. And
that my boyfriend goes to a different school ass name. Fuck out of here.
Yeah. Anyway, he is credited as the director. Anyway, he went from doing the first Inside Out. So I'm interested to see how Kelsey Mann's career goes from here. But written by Meg LaFave and Dave Holstein. Kelsey Mann also wrote the story for this. Amy Poehler is back as Joy. Maya Hawke in as Anxiety. I'll get this out of the way. Pitch perfect casting. It's so unbelievable. Maya Hawke is Anxiety. Kensington Talman as the voice of Riley, different from the last girl that played Riley, because Riley is now a teenager. Liza Lapria plays Disgust, taking over for Mindy Kaling. Tony Hale, the voice of Fear, taking over for Bill Hader. Both of them not back. But Tony Hale, the second best voice cast he's done since Forky in Toy Story 4. Lewis Black as Anger has a larger role in this. Phyllis Smith back as Sadness. Io Edebiri as Envy, great casting as well. And let me see if I can get this right. Diane Lane and Kyle MacLachlan are back as mom and dad. Paul Walter Hauser as embarrassment. And I'm trying to find Adele Exarchopoulos, I think, was on We, which was also really good from them. James Austin Johnson and Ron Funches as Bluefy and Pouchy. Almost still the movie. But this has an 8.0 on IMDb, a 91% critic score, 96% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. It says spicing things up with the wrinkle of teenage angst. Inside Out 2 clears the head and warms the heart by living up to its predecessor's emotional intelligence. Now, a lot has been made, and we just did here, of the box office for Inside Out 2 because this is the new We Save Movie Theaters. We finally did it of this year. We're so back, if you will. And also a return to form for Pixar. We said Elemental made money. By all intents and purposes, even though it made like $300 million, Lightyear was a critical and commercial flop. And so they've come out with about 2 movies in a row. And dating back to when they were putting their movies back on Disney Plus during the pandemic, I liked some of those movies. They just weren't in the zeitgeist anymore. Pixar had sort of been supplanted by what Sony is doing with Spider-Verse and Meet the Mitchells and some of their stuff. And Netflix has been nominated for Oscars as well for their animated films. Sea Beast being the most recognizable one, I think, out of those. But this is a We're So Back moment. Y'all want to take a gander at play the box office game of what Inside Out 2 has made worldwide on about a week and a half as we're recording this?
I know it's a lot. I don't remember exactly how much. I want to say like 400 million worldwide.
I'm going to say 330 million.
Worldwide, Dex would be closer, $438 million.
Damn.
But that being said, I mean, so it's made its money back. These movies are way more expensive to make than you would think. I mean, obviously, the way that they look, you would say, oh, that's an expensive movie. This cost $200 million to make.
That's
Jesus
insane.
How?
A lot of computers, a lot of
Yeah.
data storage. You know what I mean?
That's
They're just
insane.
buying entire Apple stores to make scenes of this movie.
I got to think also Amy Poehler comes with a hefty bill because she doesn't really act on camera anymore. So this is like her thing. But also, man, they went from making, I mean, the original Toy Story, I looked this up the other day. The original Toy Story was expensive for the time to make, but I think the original Toy Story cost $30 million to make.
This is legitimately the most insane business in America. That's insane.
Yeah, the original Toy Story cost $30 million, $1995 to make, but they immediately started making these movies for $100 million after that. And each one of these movies sort of falls in the $100 to $150 million category. But more recently, they have started getting 175, this $200 million.
Damn, that's so crazy.
I feel like we've become desensitized to movie production budgets, and we're just like, oh, okay, yeah, Mission Impossible costs $450 million to make. That makes sense. But it's like, fucking how, dude? Someone take me through the balance sheet. Like, what is happening?
Like, who's fronting them? Obviously, Disney Pixar, its own thing. You know what I mean? But like, who? Like, obviously, stockholders are fronting this movie. But you know, when a movie is independently funded, this is where we're the dumb movie boys on this. Where we're like, so is somebody just like fronting $100 million, or is it 1,000 people fronting $100? Like, what is it? So you know,
one day I would love to sit down with and interview someone who knows how this shit works for real, so they can just walk me through. Like, so we spent $75 million on catering. We wanted to eat good while we were in there. We wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger for a cameo, and we spent $30 million on that. But
it's mind-boggling. But this, it's like, yes, you have to pay some of these actors pretty high wages, but they're not on screen. They're coming in over the course of, this took a decade to make. They're coming in over a course of like 5 years recording this stuff. You know, it's not like they're on set getting paid all the time. It's crazy to me. Anyway, all that.
Io earned her money though. Like they showed those like clips of her like recording the voice for Envy, and she was in her bag. She worth every penny.
She's
Well,
getting a lot of money out here.
She is. She has not stopped working, and good for her.
She is
Strike
working
while
her
the
ass off.
strike while the iron's hot. This doesn't last forever. But the funny thing is Tom Hanks has talked about what it takes to like make one of these movies about the voice acting, and you think that you come in and you say your lines, but it's really like, all right, now we need voice recording of you falling down the stairs, and so he's in the recording booth for like 3 hours going like he has to do that for a day. And so it's a kind of interesting labor intensive process for what it is. But anyway, all that to say, that is my rant about the state of Pixar. T, you go first this time. What did you think of Inside Out 2? I also recently, before actually the day of that I went and saw this movie, rewatched Inside Out. And I know you recently rewatched Inside Out.
Yes, I rewatched it right before I went in. And it's a perfect film. Like the first Inside Out is legendary for many, many reasons. Such an amazing concept, such a creative way to put it on screen, such a cool balance to be able to make that child accessible, but also the themes involved are super adult. So for coming Inside Out 2, I thought they did a great job of expanding the universe, right? You have this amazing idea. We made all this money. How do we justify you coming back to the theater with your kids to come see Inside Out 2? Well, we're going to expand the universe. We're going to make it bigger. We're going to give you more rules and more characters. That is the oldest trick in the book. That's the oldest Hollywood trick in the book when it comes to making a sequel. But this works really well. It's short. It's not a long movie. My theater was also packed. In fact, there were kids sitting behind me that had clearly already seen the movie because they were quoting it word for word. And I went on Saturday, which was 2 days after it came out. So obviously, there were a lot of kids that were returning to the movie theaters to see these movies. And when they showed Pouchy on the screen, one of the kids screamed, "It's me! It's me!" So he is clearly identified with Pouchy. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was funny. I thought it was very well made. They did a great job of explaining very, very difficult concepts. Like the whole thing with the sense of self, that's not something that's just easy to make kids understand, but also keep adults entertained. And that, when Pixar is operating at its best, they're able to play that line better than anything that we've ever seen before, which is very adult content that kids are going to fucking love. And kids don't even fucking understand what they're watching, but they're having a good time. Meanwhile, the adults see all the pieces that you put together. I thought this was very much that. The cast was funny. The addition of anxiety was just phenomenal, and I enjoyed it. I ended up giving it a minus. I don't think you can make a movie that's better than Inside Out. It's not a thing that's possible. This is not that movie. But when Pouchy gets on the screen and he says, "Okay, what should I get out of my bag? A tomato, like fireworks, or he's like a tomato, or like a rock, or explosive dynamite." Like that blew me away. I felt like I laughed for like 5 minutes when that happened. There are a lot of funny moments. It's obviously a heartfelt movie. I didn't cry like I did the first time I watched Inside Out, but I still had a very good time. I gave it an A-.
Can we talk about Dex's tweet?
Dex is sicko.
I'm being attacked for presenting new ideas.
Hold on. I would like to.
Dex was in the movie theater bricked up for it. There were kids everywhere around him. That's
Relax,
insane, bro.
dog.
That's
Relax.
insane.
I would like to share Exhibit A with the audience.
Why are we putting me on the Summer Jam screen? Why am I at the Kitty Pop Out Kitty concert right now?
How old are the emotions? I don't even know how old these characters are to be thirsting over them.
Like, dude, come on, brother.
How old is this character to
what are we
even be
talking about?
thirsting over her?
What are we talking about? I
Look,
mean,
man.
a sentient being, I don't know. But here's the thing. Why?
Why?
All I'm saying is wokeness has gone too far in America because we can't lust after cartoon characters anymore.
This is
Bring me back
insane.
the days of Lola Bunny, even Mrs. Incredible. Like, what are we talking about? Like, what? When
Yeah,
did this
but this
become off
isn't
limits?
this isn't this isn't thick Mrs. Incredible. What are we
They're going
talking
to
about?
make Miss Incredible less thick, just like they did to Lola Bunny and Space Jam 2. And I'm glad. And they're doing it because of sickos like Dex out here who are sexualizing the cartoon characters. So we got to trim down
I didn't
any
even say
form of
nothing.
sexuality.
All I said was hear me out. All right, look.
Ridiculous.
Unreal. Unreal. All right. Anyway, what is your review?
I don't even want to do this anymore. I thought the movie was great. It's like I love the thing that Pixar has decided to do, where they're just like, we're going to do allegories for how things work in life, and we're gonna teach you about how emotions work, and we're going to teach you about uh what happens when you die, like,
Yeah.
and all of these other things. I think that's a great choice. I think it works for both adults and children, like everyone always says. Some people think it's too much for adults, not enough for children. I think that's dumb. All the kids in my theater were having a blast, like Teach said. Um, but yeah, they knocked it out of the park again. We're back up. They haven't had a real like hit since before the pandemic.
It's been some time.
They've put out some good movies, like Turning Red rules.
Yeah.
I liked Elemental, even though it's not like top tier Pixar or anything like that. It's still
I
pretty
like
good.
Lightyear, even though it's not top tier picture. I didn't have
Yeah,
a good
Lightyear
time.
was fun. Lightyear was a good
Yeah.
time. But yeah, they haven't had like a real hit since the pandemic.
You liberal
And-
cuck elites. Anyway, sorry.
not lusting after the cartoon characters.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like this is a real hit. People are really excited about it when they see it. Everyone I've talked to who's seen it has loved it. And I'm with them. I think the decision to make her a teenager, have her go through puberty, I think that just really works. That's a really easy way to introduce new characters. They give the new characters time to breathe without making them like sidekicks to the old characters. I think that was a really smart decision. Anxiety like gets to do her own thing. Like obviously she is kind of the villain in this movie, but they like bring that around so she's not really a villain. And I love that they showed that to be good at sports you have to be a little bit of a sicko. I think that's very important to teach children.
She had
The
that
Mamba
Kobe. She had
mentality.
she had that Mamba mentality out there.
It's all built on anxiety, and like, I think that's an important thing to teach the children immediately. But yeah, I had a great time. I didn't cry, but I did tear up a little bit. They got me early, honestly. Like them winning the game at the beginning, I was like, oh, that's so fun. I miss being a child. um, yeah, I love everything about this movie. I didn't really have any knocks on it. Legitimately, no, like, oh, they should have done this or they should have done that. I think everything they did came off for me. Especially love the addition of the new cast. I'm just giving it an A. It's dope.
Yeah, just a shout out to my sister who's watching the live stream. She says, as a mom, I loved it. We were on the cusp of big emotions for our 10-year-old and loved the addressing of these. So yeah, that being said, I have nephews that are now on the cusp of being a teenager, and watching this, you see a lot of stuff. If you have like younger relatives in your life, or you have kids, if you see a lot of this stuff play out, and you remember back to what it was like being hopefully you do remember what it's like being a teenager and going through some of that stuff. And I just think the sort of use of expanding the world inside of Riley's mind, because if you go back and you watch the first movie, not a lot of time is really spent outside in the real world. It's inside out. Like it's all the machinations of this, like, this workforce, this Amazon workforce in her mind. and I think that this does a really good job of expanding who Riley is, even on the outside. And also, the outside looks incredible. They continue to do this thing of almost photorealism in these movies, but with animated characters, where it's like, we're going to make the animated characters not so lifelike, but everything else looks like you're playing hockey for real.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. And that's kind of why this movie cost $200 million. The art style of the emotions in her mind are great. We'll probably talk about it at length in a minute, but the addition of anxiety, as somebody who's dealt with that before, is just top tier. And they don't go as far as to be like, you're going to struggle with this for the rest of your life, sort of thing. Like, this is a chronic condition that Riley's now going to have to be medicated for. But it is something that you can remember having about big decisions in your life as you grow up and not knowing how to necessarily deal with it. And I think that is an all-encompassing feeling that I don't want to say that they got away from in Pixar. Like, of course, we talk about Soul, and Soul is this big all-encompassing thing about, hey kids, how do we deal with death? Like, that's like, oh my God, like, that's something that everybody will experience. Yes, but this is such like a singular focus on a macro subject. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that Pixar, when they are doing that, is when they are top tier. I don't like the argument that, like, oh, well, Pixar needs to really just focus in on wide audiences again. I don't think Pixar's ever done that, to be completely honest. They've just made good movies. And I think people got a little bit out of their skis criticizing Pixar when they were like, when they really solely focused in on the ones that like an Asian woman was making, and you're just kind of like, ugh, like, we don't need to dig down that deep. I think y'all are really over criticizing things for the wrong reasons. But to that end, I will say this does feel like a sort of singular moment that Pixar had sort of done in the past, and it kind of recaptures, well, one, what we love about Inside Out, and what we love about Toy Story, and what we love about sort of those classic Pixar franchises, like not Cars or anything like that, but this sort
Respect Cars.
sure. Cars 2 is the worst movie I've ever seen, by the way, but
it's pretty bad.
It's horrendous, actually. But you know what I'm saying? Where y'all have heard that criticism that I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like, they need to get back to making movies for all people, and it's just like, that sounds pointed. But I think that the thing about what Pixar does so well is, taking a macro subject and making it digestible for a lot of for people of all ages. From literally, there was people 5 years old to 80 years old in my theater. Is the most packed that I've seen a theater this year. And but yeah, this stuff, like, my brother-in-law just asked about Pouchy. Like, what do we think about Pouchy? I on top of it being a great bit, it is an all-time like mix of animation styles, which they
that part was so cool.
Yeah, which they take like Bluey and put it in, or what's the Blue's
Like
Clues?
Blue's Clues?
Yeah, and just put it into this 3D animated world. And the art style from the outside in the real world to inside is also a change of pace. So it's a really good mix of that. But then throwing in, we have the video game character and stuff like that. And so I really think that that sort of bit is a great change of pace for this movie. That's like, because you go into this and you're like, where do we go? We explored so much in the first one. I rewatched the first one, cried like a baby. Bing Bong got me again. And
Bing Bong.
I didn't know where they go or how they differentiate this from the other one, but the addition of puberty happening, anxiety, ennui, and envy all coming in. My one complaint is that I thought that like envy wasn't used enough. I don't think.
I agree,
I
but
think they could
mostly
have.
because I wanted to hear more Io, so I didn't like. It's not because of that character; it was more because I want to hear more Io. But that's something I took away from it too.
Yeah, and I think that I think all of that added up is I don't know. I just think it's a really really fun and good look at what what teens and parents of teens are going to have to deal with, and I there aren't that many looks at that from Pixar yet. I think maybe as we continue to go on that this is something that they could re-explore. Um, but I could my final point is that I think that I could watch a billion of these movies, just like Riley
Same.
until she's like 45, and it's just like, hi, I'm depression. Like
Yeah,
what does that look like?
we need another movie so that we can go full on to the nostalgia character. Great,
Nostalgia
great
character,
bit.
great bit.
That was
Yeah,
good.
we need her for a full movie. We need just every other emotion that you can possibly feel. Just have them all.
And so I just think that also I said this in a review for KWTX that'll be on TV here soon, but like I said this in that Amy Poehler is I think the best actor in these movies, voice actor in these movies outside of Tom Hanks in Toy Story. I think she fits this character perfectly. And I think like it's hard to quantify that, but when you know it, you see it. And I think that she's really, really special in this role as Joy. And I'd see 1,000 of these. Oh, A for me. They didn't make me cry, but I nearly did when her
Yeah.
friends came to check on her after she had an anxiety attack. Spoiler alert, that actually happens in this movie. I was like, I'm gonna tear up. I'm gonna cry. Like this is so sweet. It's the sweetest thing on the planet. It's just like
When they were like, Joy, she needs you, I was like, oh my God.
yeah.
This is the best. This is adorable. I love that they added new emotions like you would in a sequel, but it didn't feel like just tacked on. It felt earned and real. Like you watch something like Avatar 2 and there's just like, oh, he has kids now. And you're like, well, I don't give a fuck. Like that doesn't matter. Like, like that's dumb. Like, cool. He has kids. I don't care about them either. I don't care about him. I don't care about his wife. I don't care about their kids. But yeah, like, oh, she's going through puberty. So she has new emotions she hasn't felt before, and all of her emotions that she's always felt are bigger now. Like that makes perfect sense. You get quickly emotionally invested in that. It rules. It's the perfect setup for a sequel. A very
Yes.
ethical sequel. We
Very
got
ethical
to
sequel.
set this somewhere
Ethical
on the
sequel.
Cage ethical sequel scale.
Shout out to my brother-in-law who's been texting me through this. He said, "What do you think about the tube where Joy throws the bad emotions and bad memories to the back of her mind?"
That
And
was just so good.
that's such a good implement. That's what I'm saying is like these sort of things is like where do you go from here? And it's like, oh, suppressed emotions, suppressed memories and things like just this is such a realized world of somebody. It's like, are all these people in therapy? Who wrote this movie? Or who did they talk to like what goes in on your mind to make these characters like feel lived in and realized? I don't know.
Yeah, that's when Pixar is at their best, when they're just like, hey, you know how we all have toys? What if they like talked?
Yeah.
Hey, you know how we all have emotions? What if they talked? That
Talked.
would be
Yeah.
cool, right? And like, yeah, that's what works for them. When they get a little bit above their skis and they're like, hey, we're gonna just make Buzz Lightyear go to space. Like
Yeah.
that's not really what we come to you for. Like I thought the
How,
movie was cool, but that's not really why we're here. Make
how did y'all feel?
things talk.
This movie is obviously coming off the news that they were going to transition their strategy to more sequel oriented. So, like for example, another Toy Story, another Incredibles, and there's all these news articles about how they're kind of switching their strategy over to their established IPs. I know there was some groaning about that. I personally don't care because I will watch every Toy Story movie until they get bad. I will watch every Inside Out movie until they get bad. I will watch every Incredibles movie until they get bad. And I've been waiting for another Incredibles movie. So for me, this is perfectly fine with me if that's where their focus is going to be because of the quality of these sequels, Cars 2 excluded, because of these, they're not putting out bullshit that just feels like another money grab. They're putting out good shit. There's not even a Toy Story movie that's close to bad. Like there literally isn't one. It does
They're
not
all
exist.
incredible to me.
Well, I'm on the record as saying they should have ended with Toy Story 3, much to everybody on this podcast who has heard that take's chagrin. I think, like,
Yeah, it's a bad take.
because people love Toy Story 4. I think it was just such a thank you. I think it was just such a brilliant movie. Toy Story 3. It's like a 10 out of 10. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I think
It's a perfect way to end them, but
yeah.
so I agree with that. But then Toy Story 4 happened, and it was fine. So it was like, no, we don't have to end yet because we
Right.
did it again.
I think what I was saying earlier about like people being, Pixar, that's what the news article was, is what you just said, is what I was referencing to, people being upset of like how singularly focused these different movies are for like certain groups of people, and people getting mad at that, and people getting mad at the backlash, this whole take cycle we're in. I think that I think doing sequels in sacrifice of telling interesting stories is bad, but if you continue to tell interesting, well-rounded stories in those sequels, it can be fine. But where you get off of it is like I keep going, like Cars 2, people like Cars 3, but like Cars 2 and Incredibles 2 was good, but some of these sequels where it's just like, why? What were we telling with this story? I think if you can find a way to tell interesting and pointed stories in those films, it will be fine. But doing it at the sacrifice of giving filmmakers who might have not otherwise been able to tell their stories is bad. That is actually bad.
True.
Like it took the girl, the woman that made Turning Red forever to tell her story. Like, and it's a story that is close to her, that she wanted to tell, and that I think we talk about the teenage angst stuff on this particular episode, but I think it was a story that if you just dug down a little bit deeper than Inside Out 2, it was a story worth telling about teenage angst and problems and a mother-daughter relationship and all the stuff that people like kind of glazed over because it was an immigrant story. And I think that's like where I think you can like lose it a little bit, lose your magic a little bit, and lose your art of storytelling, and in this form, in that you just kind of skip over those stories to now tell what can amount to a cash grab for Toy Story 8 while Tom Hanks is still alive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But that being said, I also will take an Inside Out 3. I'm not like, inside me are two wolves. You know what I mean? I don't know, Dex.
That's what we need from Riley. We need a wolf in her, like when she goes to college. But we also need existential dread.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like I said, I love Turning Red. I think that movie rules, and people who don't like it are idiots. It does what we want Pixar movies to do perfectly, I think. And honestly, like even this movie, it's very like teenage girl, like having teenage girl problems. Like you could consider it like a very like thin slice of people. It's just that she's white, so people don't care. Like,
Well, yeah.
like if we're being honest, like if this is a black girl and it was the exact same story, exact same everything, except she's just a black character, those same people are like, oh, Disney's gone woke, like, but because
That's
she's
facts.
white, like they don't give a fuck. So like At some point, Disney's just going to have to accept that. Like, there will always be some very loud racists who will be mad if they have people who are non-white in their movie, and like they're just going to have to get over that. What that looks like at the box office, like who am I to say? Did Turning Red even come out in theaters? I feel like it didn't.
No, there was a string of it, Luca,
So,
Soul kind of came out in theaters because it made like $120 million.
oh really? Damn.
Yeah, they kind of did the thing where they were doing because it was a Christmas release, so they're like maybe people will risk COVID to come, but it was like 2020 Christmas, and so yeah, they sort of put that in there and said so it made $120 million, but it lost like $30 million. But and then on, so it was like a run of Onward, Soul, Luca, Turning Red, Lightyear, Elemental, where Soul won Best Picture, but and I believe that's like a 4 out of 5 movie. I think that's a really solid Pixar
Yeah, I liked it.
go to.
Yeah,
But
I like that a lot. I like them all.
It's not as good as Turning
like
Red.
Luca's probably the worst of that list, but it's still like fine, and it's like an hour and 10 minutes or something stupid. But
yeah,
all that to say, like I don't know, like what like the financials tell Disney about putting characters of color at the center of their stories or whatever. I mean, Moana is like some of the biggest shit ever.
It's like $1 billion franchise. Yeah.
Yeah. So it might like it's one of those things where like they're just gonna have to get over it at some point and just rip the band-aid off and accept that like there will always be like these very racist, very like just bad people who will always be mad whenever like people of color are at
it's bad faith. It's bad faith arguments to begin with, but it does seem like the reaction to the reaction is that Disney responded to this in turn. You know what I mean? Responded to that in turn. Whether that's right or wrong, box office wise, who's to say? But I'm just like you said, it does play in the tabloids, play on the internet. Like that may have been the reaction that, oh, we need to get back to what made Pixar great, sequels. You're like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I will take the sequels, like you said. I'll still be here, but yeah, I just hope that like, I hope they just are smart enough to realize that like, if your movies are good, people will
come. Yeah, make your movie good first. Yeah, make your movie good first. Well, I also think that there is a lot of love for Inside Out. I think it holds a special place in a lot of people. Like Bing Bong
I agree.
holds a special place in a lot of like Gen Z hearts. And so, that movie literally came out when they were 10. So is
Inside Out their Toy Story? Like
it might be. I mean, let's say my sister is like 21 now, 22. So, what would that be like? People love Cars, the original Cars, but kind of ironically, I think that like The Incredibles might be that for them, but because The Incredibles came out in 2004, but this is the first one where they would have been like old enough. Inside Out would have been the first one that they were old enough to sort of like recognize and relate to what was on screen and like really internalize it. So maybe,
it also has a different level of like people who worked with kids, and especially people who work with kids like around either doing therapy with kids or that kind of thing. They use this movie. They use the original Inside Out because you can convey these really hard to convey ideas about your your own emotions to a kid in a perfect way for a kid to understand. So it has that kind of life too. It's just like it's kind of like a one of a kind movie in terms of its profile, how much people like it, and also what people use it for. So this is obviously ripe ground for a sequel, and we should at least give them a little bit of credit for having some restraint because this shit should have probably dropped 2 years after the first one. Like if they were really just about going out and making the quickest dollar possible. But it's been this movie. It's been 10 years since this first movie came out, right? Something like that.
9 years, nearly a decade.
9 years. So it's like the fact that they were able to have that much restraint for a big hit that was very great with the audience and the critics alike. Give them a little bit of credit, and they in the interim they were doing some original stories. I know that Turning Red's turned into in the culture war cesspool. But it's a fucking great movie. Like Luca's fine. Soul is pretty good. Like it's not like they've been making the shittiest movies you can think
Right,
of. And
right.
I think the margins of like a hit versus a movie that some people kind of like is the margins are weird. But like it's like the Elemental thing is a perfect example of how weird this stuff is because Elemental to a man, everybody's like, yeah, that's good. Nobody was like over the moon. Like I love Elemental, but they
Yeah,
just
no
kept
one's
that
like
shit in
this shit
theaters
changed
and
my
kept
life.
milking
I
it.
felt it. Like,
Yeah.
If Garfield can make $200 million, I haven't heard one good thing about this film. They made $200 million. I literally haven't heard one person compliment it yet.
I think well it's also there's quote unquote down period also coincided with the downfall of theaters in real time.
That's
yeah,
true.
Like that sucks. You know what I mean? Like Toy Story 4 came out in 2019, made $1 billion or whatever it was, and then theaters stopped running. So it's like, shit. Okay. What do we do with this movie about death? I guess put it on your TV at home. I don't
Merry
know.
Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. So in real time. I think it was again, books will be written about this, like the downfall of cinema. But like, I think it coincided, some okay movies coincided with theaters dying on the vine. And I
Exactly.
think that instructed different things for this mega corporation Disney, who in turn reacted like, oh no, our cash cow, our moneymaker that we can always rely on isn't what we thought it was. But that's just it was a 3-year period in a 30-year window of unprecedented success with animation. So I don't know. I don't know how the calculus adds up on it. But all that to say, we've been talking about Pixar as a whole, which I kind of wanted to do, but maybe not this in depth. But like, anything else we want to say about like the movie and why it succeeded and why you loved it so much? Because I really think this will go down as sort of a I'm maybe not top 10 Pixar for me, but it's really, really close as far as that goes.
Yeah, I think like it's hard for a movie to just be this consistently pleasant like the entire
Throughout,
time.
yeah.
You know, it's like even the jokes that I didn't like laugh out loud at, it was still kind of like, like that was good. Like, I was watching it the whole time, like, oh, I like how they did that. I like that joke. I like, how they introduce these new emotions. I like how they explain this thing that's happening or thing that we all go through. Even like how they showed an anxiety attack, just anxiety just running around rampantly and like causing a tornado basically. Like I was like, that's a really cool choice. That's a really interesting way to show that visually, you know, with these characters. It's just rare to see a movie make pretty much every choice that they make at every point is good and works.
Yeah.
If I had to nitpick anything, it's that like this movie has a little bit of the teenage girl problem where they just make a teenage girl the worst person in the world, and then her friends are just like, it's cool.
You've had that
Which,
problem with a lot of movies.
yeah, dude, like it just they make. There's no way I would still be friends with Riley by the end of this movie. Like, big fuck you to Riley if I was her friend IRL, but her real friends are like, yeah, it happens. Like we wouldn't hug out with us either.
And Riley hit her junior year, and those friends that moved to a different school never talked to her again.
Yeah, but by the end of this movie, they're just like, yeah, it was cool. We get it, man. It's like, yeah, we're back like nothing ever happened. Which, yes, I understand that does happen to an extent with teenage girls. Like, especially when you go to the same high school, you grew up together, you're just like locked in with each other for 8 hours a day, every day.
Right.
Like, just making
Stop.
pleasantries.
Right.
But if I had to find a nitpick somewhere, that would be it. Otherwise, it felt like every single choice this movie made was like
Uh,
decent to great.
Nitpick for me. Not enough of mom and dad in this movie.
Yeah, they
Love
got
mom and
sidelined a
dad.
bit.
Yeah, love mom and dad in
They
the
got
first
sidelined
movie.
a bit. She goes off to camp, and so mom and dad's not around. They're at
Yeah.
home getting it on, having their own time.
The
But
cuts to, and they did this in the Pixar short Riley Goes on a Date,
yeah,
which
the
is on,
short.
it's
Yeah.
so good. They cut to the inside of the mom and the dad's head of them being like, "Oh, is that the signal? Like, this is go time." I love those bits.
That's
as
such an
I've gotten
easy
older.
bit, but it works on me every time.
Yeah.
That is a question I had though. Did y'all have a short before this movie?
No.
Okay, I didn't.
I
either.
showed
I
up
was
too
like,
late to see, but I had seen the previous Inside Out short because it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I don't think they put them in front of the movies anymore. I think
that's whack.
Big
they
mistake.
go on Disney Plus.
Big mistake.
I love those back in the day. Anyway,
Yeah, bring those back. What are we doing? I'll never forget where I was when Bow happened. Like,
This movie is my favorite another example of my favorite bit, which is how many Pixar movies are better than the movie Lady Bird. This movie is better than the movie Lady Bird.
so many people are gonna be mad at you.
It's got a teenage girl problem, but not as big as the teenage girl problem in the movie Lady Bird, a film that exists that is not good. So yet another point for Pixar. I think Pixar's got, by my count, like 13 films better than the movie Lady Bird.
I still haven't seen Lady Bird. I might
You don't need to
do that up for the plane.
Just
to
watch
Australia.
Barbie. If you want to,
Yeah.
if you want to
You wanna
girl it up,
go-
just watch Barbie. There's a movie that I
Or
call Barbie. It exists.
Little
It's
Women.
amazing. Yeah, just like I'm not a big Little Women person either, but Little Women's better than the film Lady Bird.
You don't like the plight of the white teenage woman. That's what it is.
It's fine. I would prefer the original, but like it's fine. It's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it, like the movie Lady Bird, which is not good. But Barbie exists. Barbie is Gerwig times a trillion. Like snort, you know, take some pre-workout. That's your Greta Gerwig on pre-workout. It's Barbie. It exists. It's perfect.
Anything else from this movie? My brother-in-law actually did text me something that I want to do that I should have brought up before, and I think we've done this before. But our top 5, we don't have to like draft them, but our top 5 Pixar movies.
Ooh.
Oh god, this is tough. Can I make a point before we do that?
Yeah, continue on with
You
whatever
give one
points you want.
Story movie.
let's. I want I know that we are the movie boys. I want all of the rest of you, which is you normies, to stop doing the thing where because a movie doesn't make a lot of money that you make a value judgment on how good the movie is. Let's just separate those two things. The business of movies has nothing to do with quality. Sometimes the movie that makes the most money is amazing, and sometimes the movie that makes the most money is a Transformer movie, like and it stinks. Like sometimes that's the way it fucking works. The fact that Furiosa didn't make any money, it's already available for streaming. It sucks for the movie industry, but it's a fucking blessing for you if you didn't get up and go to the damn movies, because Furiosa is fucking awesome. It's a good movie. It's not perfect, but it's not going to put you to sleep. It's fucking awesome, and the fact that it made no money has nothing to do with the quality of the movie. Nothing at all. Garfield made $200 million. That thing's probably a piece of shit. So, like, please, let's stop doing that. That's all.
I mean, some of the best movies of all time historically made like $10 in a backyard somewhere. So, like, you know, it is what it is. You could go back through history of time and look at the highest grossing movies of all time, and you're like, okay, well, bad Star Wars movie, you know. Oh, The Godfather's in there adjusted for inflation. So, you know, it is what it is.
The guy that made Titanic was just like, I'm just going to make 19 Avatar movies, and he's going to make $1 bajillion every time.
Ain't made a good one yet.
Yeah, speaking of how sequels aren't, you know, making non-ethical sequels and sequels that like basing your business model around sequels, that's where we fail. Garrett, sorry, in real time, if you're listening to this, I know you're an avid listener of the show, but those movies aren't. Okay,
There's not been a good Avatar movie yet. You know what? I've been thinking about this actually. How they can save Avatar 3. Jake's dead brother, make him alive, bring him back, have him fight.
Reincarnated him. Wasn't he his twin?
Yeah.
Okay, send it.
Wrong kid died. Bring him back.
Send it to Jim Cameron. I'm sure Big Jim will love that idea. Okay, so I do want to do our top 5 Pixar movies. Let's see.
Hard.
You can
You
only
give one
do
Toy Story movie.
You only get one Toy Story movie. That's okay.
Oh my god, this makes it even harder.
So we're not drafting. We're not going to draft, but Dex, I'll go first to make it easier while y'all can compile your list because I've been looking at a list of Pixar movies. So I will go Toy Story 3. I said I like it better than the original two. I think and loads better than the fourth one, and I think that like it's a 5-star movie. I think them acting like they were going to incinerate the toys is an
Man,
all-time
that was a
pump fake,
mess
and
in
I
the
was
theater.
crying like a little girl in the theater. It was unbelievable. Let's see, number 2. I'm gonna put, just because I rewatched it and I forgot how much I loved it, I'm gonna put Inside Out, the original Inside Out, on mine as well.
Hmm.
I think going through here, this is tough. People get mad and they say that it's not a good movie, but also people say it's the best movie of all time. I loved Wall-E.
Me too.
I think Wall-E's an almost perfect movie. And it's a really good look at where we are heading in real time. So that's fun. Let's see.
I've only seen Wally the one time, and I didn't like it, but it's been like 15 years.
I would,
So I'm
Man,
gonna
Wally
rewatch
goes
it,
crazy.
but
That shit goes crazy.
yeah. It's kind of a cautionary tale, if you will. I'm gonna go. This is a movie I only recently watched for the first time because I missed it in theaters. Coco is amazing.
Yeah,
Fact.
Coco's great.
Coco is amazing. So that's 4. And I cried. I watched it right after my great grandfather died. And Caitlin was like, "Are you sure that you want to watch this?" I was like, "Yeah, what could be?" And then Mama Coco dies. And I was like, like heaving. I couldn't control what was happening in my body. I was just sobbing watching that movie.
This is impossible for me to pick 5 of these.
And
movies.
then number 5, Monsters Inc. is the most quotable movie of all time. And
I love
I
Monsters
just think
Inc.
it's so good.
I want to go.
Fucking love Monsters Inc.
So those are my 5. So just to recap: Toy Story 3, Inside Out, Wall-E, Coco, and Monsters Inc.
I hate being limited to one Toy Story movie, but if I had to pick,
Yeah, because
this
I
is
would
a-
put the original Toy Story movie in there if I had to
see,
pick.
I would have Toy Story 3 in mind if I could do that, but I'm taking the original Toy Story as my number 1 Pixar movie. I just absolutely fucking love it. I've been obsessed with it since the first time I watched it. I've probably seen it 100 times. Second, I would probably go Finding Nemo. It's perfect. You can't make a better movie than Finding Nemo. It just has everything I look for in an animated movie. Third, I would probably go The Incredibles.
It's hard to leave The Incredibles off the list when you go back and you look
I
at it.
fucking love The Incredibles. It combines my love of superheroes with my love of these Pixar movies. Fourth, I would have to go Wall-E. I feel very much like you, Roy. And I just the first time I saw it, I was completely obsessed with it. And there's a lot of movies I'm leaving off that really hurt me to do, but I'm gonna have to go with Up as my 5th movie. That first 10 minutes of Up is probably the hardest I've ever cried in a movie.
It's the best 10 minutes of Up, if you're being honest with yourself.
I was a complete, absolute fucking mess in a
It's
theater
hard
full
to
of
top
children.
that scene as like a scene, like a montage, a short film, whatever we will want to call it. Like, it's hard to top that.
It's hard to continue a movie after that.
It's so good.
So what recap, what were your 5?
My 5 were Toy Story 1, Finding Nemo,
Okay.
and then The Incredibles, and then Wall-E, and then Up.
Okay.
That was my 5.
All right. Dex.
So
That was really hard. Monsters Inc. is way up there for me. Toy Story 3 is way up there for me. That was not easy for me to do.
yeah, this is harder than you initially think it's going to be. Like, looking at this list of stuff they've done over the last 30 years, so like, god damn, they got so many bangers.
Yeah.
But I'm actually going to take Toy Story 2 as
famously
my-
like the highest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes, I think.
Yeah,
That
I don't ever
movie-
understand that. That's my least favorite Toy Story, and I really like it. It's my least favorite.
that movie came out at the point where I was like old enough to really care, like to really give a fuck. And I just never stopped giving a fuck about that movie. Like, I think the introduction of Jesse as a character is just so good, and like the "When She Loved Me" song, like
Oh, when
ugh,
somebody loved me,
I was like
everything was beautiful.
6 years old, like just crying my eyes out to that song. It never stopped. That's an adult. So that one's my favorite Toy Story and my favorite Pixar movie. We're gonna go with The Incredibles at number 2. I like to me that's probably the most quotable Pixar movie. Like I just quote lines from that every day, just in normal conversation all the time. Um, everything that Frozone says in that movie is hilarious. Most of what Dash says in that movie is hilarious.
Wait, Incredibles or Incredibles also? Incredibles
What
2 or Incredibles also?
No, he
Incredibles
picked Incredibles 1.
Okay.
1? Yeah.
Okay. You said Incredibles 2, and I was like, wait.
Did I? I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah.
The first Incredibles movie. Yeah, I love all the characters in that movie. Think Syndrome, Real Sicko, true great movie villain, if you ask me. That's at my number 2.
Best Fantastic Four movie ever made.
Fact, they have
There's not
not.
even a close. There's not a close second.
They have never come close. I'm gonna take Cars at number 3.
No, dude.
I fucking love Cars. I won't be
Oh,
silenced.
I
I
like
This
won't
is-
Cars
be
like the
bullied.
next man, but no.
I won't be shamed.
This is being red pilled by Life is a Highway.
Cars is
Promise
good.
is.
It's solid.
You just love Life is a Highway by Rascal Flatts.
I wouldn't
I
have
do.
it as top 10, but it's solid.
I love that movie. I'm sorry. I grew up on it. I just never let it go. All right. That's one of the movies like my mom used to have like the DVD player in the back of the truck. And that was one of the DVDs that we had in there, and I was locked in every time. So Cars
Running
is up
there.
there for me.
Running around the house doing Larry the Cable Guy quotes is Tomater.
Finding Nemo at number 4. Honestly,
Okay.
perfect film. If I was being more objective about this, I would be higher on the list, but we're going off my favorites. And yeah, like I think Finding Nemo is like a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. Everyone loves that movie.
Great movie, yeah.
And then I'm going to wrap it up with Turning Red. Ever since the first time I saw that movie, I've just been in love with it, and I thought
Wow.
it was perfect and sensational and
It's
phenomenal.
so good.
I'm a Four Town stan. That movie rules. I walked into the living room. My dad was watching it the other day, and I was like, "I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna watch Turning Red with my dad."
Just on his own, he was just chilling, watching
Yeah.
Turning Red.
Just chilling, watching Turning
Nice.
Red.
Total dad movie, Turning Red. Total dad
Yeah,
movie.
appreciator of cinema.
It's
Jonathan
right,
Litton.
it's right up there with like Taken and Field
The
of
Godfather,
Dreams. Yeah,
Taken,
Field,
Turning Red.
Yeah, I walked in like halfway through Turning Red, and I was like, you know what? I'm sitting here watching Turning Red now. Yeah, I love that movie. It's adorable. It hits you in the heart, and it's got great songs in it. So, like, what could you ask for? So, my top 5: Toy Story 2, Incredibles, Cars, Finding Nemo, Turning Red.
let's see. My sister and brother-in-law have been texting like crazy throughout this. He wanted to make known Toy Story 1, Coco, Inside Out, Onward, Finding Nemo. Onward.
Inside
Really?
Out is so good. I can't believe that probably wouldn't even make my top 7. It's a perfect movie.
Onward is robbed, man. Onward is good. It just came out in like January of 2020, so it's lost to history.
No, I mean
It
even worse
lost.
than that. In March of 2020.
Damn.
Yeah, Onward never happened. It's lost a ton.
I liked Onward, but it was immediately where they were like,
It's fine.
what do we do with it? Like, how do we put this on our streaming service that's about to launch? You know, do we like charge money for this? And then people just didn't see it. And it's all right. Chris Pratt of it all is fine.
Shout out to JLD.
Yeah.
If I want to see some Chris Pratt, I'm turning on Mario. That's real cinema.
That's your
Mario
animated.
sucks,
Yeah.
dude.
Don't do that. Please don't do that. We're not
That
doing that.
movie stinks.
Mario's fucking phenomenal, bro. That is real nostalgia. That is real cinema.
Mario is fine. It's the most fine animated movie of all
Jack Black
time.
should have been nominated for an Oscar for what he did. I mean, he was technically, but I mean,
Yeah, I
as
guess
an
he
actor.
was.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait, was he?
Well, it was nominated for best song.
Was
or
he?
best,
Was
he
it?
It wasn't.
technically-
Never mind. It wasn't. It should have been nominated for best song.
I
It
was
should have
gonna
been
say I
nominated for
thought it wasn't, and we had
No, it
No,
wasn't.
and you had a fit about it on the podcast.
Yeah, because it was the greatest. It was the best song we heard of the movie by far last year.
Not true. I'm just kidding. Was a song we heard in the movie last year, but
Okay, maybe the second best movie we heard this. I'm taking Peaches over. I'm just kidding, but I understand. I'm just kidding. Was also
You're crazy. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Peaches dropped. I floated in the movie theater, brothers. I was floating. It was perfect.
I still can't believe that like they had I'm Just Kidding come save the movies last year at the Oscars.
Come save the Oscars, yeah.
And then they were just like, actually, we're gonna give it to Billie Eilish again.
That was such a fuck you, Billie Eilish. I'm still mad about that. He literally put in the press that he didn't want to do it. He finally fucking does it, and you shit on him.
They built up to it all night, like it was the thing. The reason the Oscars existed
And
was
they
for the
just
I'm
didn't
Just
give it
Kidding
to him.
performance, and we're
That
like,
was
you
so
know what?
nasty.
Billie Eilish.
Oh my god. All right. Anyway, that has been One Take Podcast. What are we watching? Really quickly. I'm on The Boys. Tej, I binged Gen V in like 2 minutes.
Did you like it?
I loved it actually.
Perfect. It's good. Like it's legitimately good.
Yeah, I thought it was good. It's like X-rated Harry Potter, but then they don't really go to school anymore. So it's just like I thought it was really good. Dex has some weird and bad opinions about The Boys, the show he's never watched. But
I don't have any opinions about it at all, other than y'all sound insane when you talk about it.
It's
like
great.
every single thing that I've ever heard about it has been like orgy, homophobia, transphobia, racism.
Yep, that's the show. You got the right show.
Some guy that like
Nailed it.
shrinks down into like some kind of crevice. I don't remember what. Like
It's a disgusting show. It is also real cinema. It's fucking great. The Boys is back. House of the Dragons is back. We're
so back.
Officially back. And holy shit, episode 1 we came out really swinging. We
Wanging.
are really back. The Bear's coming. I'm watching the 2 Apple shows, the Dark Matter and Presumed Innocence. They are both bangers. Apple might be doing better TV than anyone out here right now. They're just banger after banger over there. So I got a lot of TV going on, a lot of movies. I'm going to see Bike Riders tomorrow. I just watched Mission Impossible Fallout again because I had to record another podcast for the Marvel Cinematic University pod, which was a lot of fun. That movie might be the greatest movie of all time. The Mission Impossible Fallout is just from that first hour of that movie does not let you go. It really doesn't let you go. Insane.
Tom Cruise jumping out of a plane and fucking what's his name? Big
Superman.
Dude passing out in the sky, and Tom Cruise being like, I got this shit. I got to fucking save this big ass rookie piece of shit as the lightning storm is like hitting this European country. Like, and we're about to dive into a part. Like, it's just so cool. There's never been a cooler movie than Mission Impossible.
Tom Cruise flying a helicopter by himself. Like, we don't talk about that
by
enough.
himself.
Yeah.
Have y'all seen any Alec Baldwin movies since, he killed someone? Because, I'm not going to lie, you think about it when you see him pop up on the screen. You can't help but think about it. Especially when he's holding a gun. It was a little scary for me. I'm just putting that out there. You think about it. It's still back there somewhere.
You mean ETV's next reality TV star, Alec Baldwin?
I just can't believe they're going through with that. At this time in his life, this is not what he needs.
It's crazy behavior. Okay. Anyway.
I too have been watching House of the Dragon. Look, man, my allegiances to Team Green are a little shaky at the moment. They kind of tripping over there. But I'm riding with Allison till the very end. That's my thing.
Allison's riding to the very end as well.
This is facts. Shout out to Krista Cole World. No losses, only delayed W's. But yeah, they look shaky over there. But I'm very excited for the rest of House of the Dragon season 2.
Oh, I'm gonna catch up to y'all. Y'all be proud of me. I'm on episode 8 of the first season. So
you're flying, man.
Yeah.
Oh, you're about to be caught up.
Yeah, I'll catch up to you in real time.
Also, I watched the Kendrick Lamar concert yesterday, like everyone else.
Me too.
It was very good.
Your teams have been taking some L's this week, brother. It's been a week for you.
Hey man, I'm
And your
good.
Twitter account.
I'm just glad that Drake used his influence to encourage Kung Fu Kenny
What a
to
spin.
do something
This
special
is the
for his
nastiest
city.
spin of all time.
What a
I'm just
spin.
saying, Kendrick Lamar wasn't doing no shit like this until Drake popped out and bullied him and said, "You don't go to your city and plant no money trees." Kendrick was like, "You right. Let me do that." And look what we got.
This is such a nasty
Thank you,
spin.
Drake. That's all I'm saying.
All right. So I don't know how to react to that because I was in real time being like, wait, what is happening? You know, when I was at work when the concert was going on, and then all of a sudden people were like, "Oh shit, Dr. Dre!" I'm like, "What is happening? What?" And I'm just like, I did have the joke, and I wanted to run it by you. It's like because you said the Houston rodeo does this all the time. Dex was your take, and I just wanted to say it's like no, but that's like George Strait and Friends. That's not Kendrick and Friends. You know what I mean? Anyway, so yeah, that has been a one take podcast. We're gonna try to get to the bike riders of Dex. If we can't get to it in time, we may talk about it at a different time, or we'll wake up at 3 a.m. when Dex is on the other side of the world and do a podcast. But
What if I just podcast from the plane?
yeah, I'm sure everyone in row E would love
to hear you pod about the
to hear
movie.
you pod about the movie The Bike Riders. And it's like, yeah, Austin Butler has what it takes. It's like, shut the fuck up.
I heard a bad review today from some former guest of the pod. Marcus said he wasn't really into it.
Uh-oh.
I was sad about that, but I'll be in there tomorrow.
Marcus has usually measured in good takes, so we'll see how this.
He didn't shit on it. He didn't say it was bad, but he didn't say it was good either. So I'm excited to see it. Austin Butler is really him, and also my queen is in this movie, so I was going to be there no matter what. So I'm very excited that my queen's getting such a big starring role, and she is her, and y'all are going to be talking about her in the next couple years. So go see her.
By queen, you mean Tom Hardy doing another ridiculous accent?
No, definitely not.
We are the Jodie Comer Hive. We started it here, so we're all on board.
Yeah, when no one saw that the movie that she was in with
The Last Duel.
The Last Duel. When nobody saw The Last Duel, we did.
Yeah.
We did. What's
Ignore the fact that she won an Emmy before we even started this podcast.
We started it.
Jodie Comer.
All right. Yeah, so we will pick back up with the bike riders, I think, maybe here in a week or so, but that is probably going to be the next thing we review. Also, after that is going to be big long legs hours in July when Dex is dancing on the Fury Road. So you can find us at a One Take Pod on Twitter, One Take Pod on Instagram, YouTube to stream these episodes live. Go download and subscribe this podcast when I eventually drop it to you this weekend. We really appreciate you doing that. Give us a follow and a review on whatever podcast feed that you listen to this on. It helps. It goes a long way. On Spotify, it's really easy. Just swipe 5 stars. That we would really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Follow us. And Dex, as always, what are we doing?
Hashtag support Florence Pugh. Her time is coming.
It's already here, brother. Never left.